And we are live. Welcome to the Bardic Inspiration Podcast. I'm your host, Brad the Bard, and today I have the beast from the Middle East. I'm just kidding. We got the newly dubbed Danaher Death Squad badass brown belt female Katie Hooves in the house. And I just want to give one giant shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, Vedinian. If you guys like creative writing and horror and all that good stuff, check out his website in the description. What is going on?
So happy to have you here. Thank you so much for having me on.
It was a rough drive. I'm not going to lie.
I was wondering about that because it is not a pretty day outside.
It was so rough.
It is rainy and disgusting, and driving in Jersey normally is a pain in the ass.
I'm not going to say condone any PA driving out there because Pennsylvania drivers, especially in the Philly area, trash. But my God, Jersey people are so rude. My God, I got cut off so many by semis. I'm like, God, please don't kill me. I just want to do a podcast.
It's definitely the worst part about living in Jersey is the driving.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: you have a brown belt, right? So
Correct.
Can you I want you to take me through the history, what got you into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in the first place, and then how did you come here, where you're on basically the greatest team known to the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu community right now?
Yeah. So I guess we'll start way in the beginning. I was a competitive swimmer from a very young age. Yes. And when I was 12 years old, I got tendonitis in my shoulder. And I'm like, this probably
that young, you're like, I'm getting old.
Yeah, I'm like, this hurts a lot. I mean, when you're 12, you don't understand what's going on. But I'm like, yeah, ow, this hurts. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I kind of fell into playing basketball. It's just what everybody else was doing. And
you just named two things that you would probably trash me at. I'm trash at swimming and basketball. My God.
Well, I can't say that I was exceptionally good at basketball. I mean, good enough.
I'm exceptionally bad.
Well, maybe we'll play one-on-one sometime, but I would definitely beat you in swimming. I am very proud of my swimming skills.
All right.
But I played basketball for a few years, and I hated it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what else to do. I was new in high school because I went to a Catholic school. Then I go into high school, and I'm like I don't know what to do. Yeah. It was from 15 kids to 400 kids. And
where did you go to high school?
I went to Quakertown High School in Pennsylvania.
Oh, snap. Mm-hmm. That's out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Middle of nowhere.
And there wasn't a wrestling program for you?
There was. They had wrestling, but
yeah.
Why would I do wrestling? Why would I do that? I never grew up around that. Actually, my uncles wrestled, but my dad wasn't a wrestler. He was an ice hockey player. My brother played ice hockey.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I'm just cool, basketball. And one day I was just no, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do kickboxing.
Ooh,
so
all right.
I started doing kickboxing at a small gym in Quakertown, just whichever one was closest. And I did that for a few months, and they had a jiu-jitsu program as well, and the class was right after the kickboxing class. And one day I stayed. You
just fell right into
and
it. And
I stayed for the class, and it has been 10 years since then, and I feel like the longest I've taken off was 3 weeks for an injury.
Oh, man.
Where I was not able to drill or anything, but I've been incredibly consistent ever since then.
Yeah.
And I have continued to do Muay Thai as well, but I've definitely, really immersed myself into jiu-jitsu.
So have you done any MMA fights at all?
I have not.
Why not?
I don't know. Probably because I don't want to lose my intelligence.
The concussions are real.
Yeah, the concussions are real. I'm too smart to lose all of that, and I do have a career outside of the fighting world, so I don't want to diminish my
ability to do that.
Right,
yeah.
being a real person in the real world. So yeah, I trained for 7 years at this gym in Quakertown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And after grad school, I got a job at one of the most prestigious structural engineering and architecture firms in all of the land, and that was in Manhattan.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
which I grew up in literally the middle of nowhere.
So what does a structural engineer do to just knock out my Looney Tunes idea of building the scaffolding and stuff?
Yeah, you make sure buildings don't fall down.
Okay.
That's what I was doing.
Nice.
Yes. You could do buildings or bridges. I like buildings better. So I did that. I worked at that company in Manhattan, and I had to move. Quakertown's middle of nowhere. It's like 2 hours from Manhattan.
Yeah.
I was very comfortable there because I like the wilderness, but stepped out of my comfort zone, took this job in Manhattan, and I'm like, well, I'm not quitting jiu-jitsu. I love it.
Yeah.
So I came out here and I found Garry's gym. At the time, it was Brunswick Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I lived down in this area because I was like not ready to like bite the bullet and move really close to Manhattan.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty in the city. That's about as in the city as you get.
Yes. So that was about 3 years ago now. When I joined here, we're now Garry Tonon Jiu Jitsu. We've rebranded recently.
You sent me the little logo. I was like, ooh, I got to definitely throw that in the
overlay. That's really new. Garry moved down to Puerto Rico, so we kind of rebranded the gym to keep his name attached to this since he isn't physically here all the time. So Garry Tonon Jiu Jitsu is my home here in New Jersey. When I was working in Manhattan, I took advantage of training at Henzo's and found myself in John Danaher's morning classes.
Nice.
And, I actually didn't make my way in through Garry. A lot of these guys here, they will go up with Garry. They're Garry's guy. I knew somebody else at Henzo's and kind of went with her and made my own way, which is different, but cool. And I just started training there as much as I could. I would go once or twice in the morning. So I had to go to work.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be there all day like I wanted to be. But it's been really cool because I feel like over the past 3 years training under Garry, training at Henzo's, going to other affiliate gyms in the area, like Henzo Gracie Bayside and Bronx Martial Arts, like those ones.
Awesome.
Tom DeBlas's, I go out there too.
Have you been to studio?
I have not been to studio yet, but they have been here.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, they have been
That's
here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking about going there after this. We'll see. I want to make sure I get a lot of rolls in with the guy, with the folks here at the Garry Tonon school right here. I want to make sure I get all the rolls in before I make my way back home while I'm beat up.
Yeah, you're gonna be a little beat up. You're gonna be like, I'm exhausted. I'm not going to studio anymore. We're gonna put it on you.
I'm gonna sleep in my car right now.
Be like, hey boys, this is my friend. Beat him up.
Yes. I want it. Give me all the smoke. I actually, like, a month ago, I had, like, COVID for the first time, and I didn't train. Like, oh, my God, that was a nightmare. I forgot, like, some of the moves I was working on, and I had to, like, relab them, like 3 weeks ago, like, when I started coming back. And, oh, my God, it was a nightmare, dude.
And I bet your cardio sucked.
Oh, my God. I was,
taking
rounds off. It does. Like, my cardio's always been kind of, like, ass, honestly. But, it's one of those things. It was such a weird experience to have that, like, slow down my progress. So you said the only time you ever took off was, like, for one injury, and it was, like, a couple weeks, you said? Like, 3 weeks?
Yeah. I partially tore my MCL 2 years ago.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I mean, I never got an MRI, but it's probably what it is.
It was,
I mean, no range of motion was terrible and all of that. So I didn't even do any drilling for like 3 weeks. And finally week 4, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I jumped back onto the mats, just drilling lightly. I would still like go to class and watch because you can still get a lot out of it.
It's crazy how much you can get out of that, actually. Yeah. There's one guy in my gym that's injured, and that's what he does. Like, he knows everyone's game because he watches you the whole time. Oh my God, it's crazy. Like, he's like, yeah, you have this habit of doing this. I'm like, how do you know that, Jay? How do you know that that's my game?
Why are you watching me?
But yeah, it's so good to have like an instructor that keeps an eye on those things, you know. So like, as you like being the person watching, that probably put you in a perfect position to like give people advice and stuff in that respect.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, and like just see what other people do in certain situations. Like, I trained for 7 years outside of this affiliation entirely, which was really interesting coming in here. And like, it's just at a completely different level. Like it's like worlds different from what I was used to. I remember I came to the first class and I go, with my partner, I'm doing the moves, and Garry's like, oh yeah, Ashigarami. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What is this? It was just like a thing I had never known. Like, I didn't know leg locks at all. Here's a basic ankle lock, heel hook, kinda, you'd like hook the heel, cool. Like, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So, when I was injured and watching, I was kind of able to start to get more of a handle on certain things. Just like watch. I was especially watching leg locks because that's where I felt most uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, how are these people getting out of these situations? A lot of people that come here like to do leg locks.
Yeah.
You'll see when you roll later.
I imagine
you'll
in
see.
the program. Well, that's one of the things, like right after COVID, Rob Deagle, he's another DDS guy. He was one of the guys, him and a couple other dudes, we were getting together in Jersey. Matt DeVore had a basement where we would get together like in the wake of COVID. Like it was like an underground thing. And they were popping up everywhere. But they
it's like
me
jiu-jitsu
here.
speakeasies.
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. I've never heard it called that.
That's what I was calling it.
Call
Because I was like,
that
I'm
for
literally
them.
in your basement right now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's kind of where like my leg game kind of exploded. I had a 10th Planet guy, Zach Edwards. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's in Texas now, but he's kind of where like the beginning of my leg lock stuff started, and then it just exploded in 2020 when I was rolling with these guys. So I know about the DDS system.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
On this, like not even from the outside. Like I'm in there with a lot of these guys, and man, they are killers.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, it's crazy. How, like the way you have to think to be like in the leg lock game is some next level stuff.
Yeah.
Tap early, tap often. You know
For sure. You know, when you don't know what you're doing, especially, like you got to tap or you're going to get injured.
Yeah.
You know, some things are counterintuitive. You're like, oh, I'll roll. Oh, wait, there goes my knee.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No,
Great.
I usually, when I'm put in a weird spot and there's weird tension, I tap and I say, stay there. I need to break this down in my brain to see what I would do if it was like life and death.
Definitely. Or you start to get those training partners that you feel really safe with. You know they're not going to rip
That's
it.
so important.
So it's like, okay, you have me in this heel hook, but I know you're not going to pop my knee. So let me try to work from here. And as you continue to train and get more comfortable with the positions, you start to learn your own limits too.
Yeah.
So then you can start experimenting with that. Being like, okay, I know that I have a little bit of time. Let me just see here what I could do to work out of this.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so big. I've been having this conversation with so many people, including like the guys in the basement. Choosing the correct training partners is the key to longevity in the sport.
For sure.
I love going with crazy D1 wrestler guys as much as the next guy, you know what I mean, where we're just, balls to the wall going crazy. But when you're going in like every day, especially like after work, and you're just like, I kind of just want to fucking work on some things that I've been thinking about. It's nice to have some partners you can count on for that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like everybody has their favorite training partners, their favorite people they get paired up with, favorite people to train with, or even like if you're doing positional rounds, like, oh, this is my favorite partner for this particular round. And, those are things people work you in different ways. But like, especially being injured, if you're training while injured, you got to make sure you're picking the right people. Like if I'm injured, I refuse to roll with any new people. I'm getting over an injury right now, actually. And
story of our lives.
It is. It is. But we had a couple visitors from a local gym, and one of them was a girl. And I always like to, roll with the girls and just kind of like inspire them or motivate them and help them. And that day, I didn't roll with her because I was injured. Like, I don't know how she rolls.
Yeah, and that's
important. And it's nothing against anybody who comes in here. They might be an amazing training partner, but I don't know, and I'm not risking it while I'm injured.
Maybe watch them roll with some of your favorite people first.
Yeah,
see how they
you're like, hey, what do you think? Would it be okay?
I usually try to match the pace with the people I'm with.
Definitely,
especially if I'm in a new gym. I'm not in there trying, the freshest sauce that I've got. It's always like, yeah, let's kind of like, I want to make some friends, and then like.
Definitely, I think sometimes that's different as a female though. Like, I'll definitely match paces.
Yeah.
And it's different now that I'm a brown belt, but a lot of times, or if people don't know my rank, if I'm like visiting somewhere and it's a no-gi class and I'm just wearing like a random rash guard, they have no idea who I am. I kind of have to show them, hey, I'm here for real.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tough, and I'll like, I've had guys tell me like, oh, the first time you put your hands on me, I was like, oh shit, this is for real. I'm like, yes, awesome. It is. And I want you to roll with me like it is real. Like, this isn't just it's an off round. Like, I'm here to be a valuable training partner for you as well. And I'm going to turn up that intensity.
Yeah.
As a female, I do have to be more technical, but I'm also going to be a tough match for you.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not as strong as you.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome because you're the one running you're doing like an all-female class after the podcast, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's so cool that you get to, like, just hearing you say that, like, you have the mentality, like, I'm here to, like, motivate and inspire other girls. Because I feel like it's lately a lot of girls are actually getting into jiu-jitsu, which is awesome. I think that's the coolest thing, because like, you know, when I think of like a good person I want to date, I'm like, I want her to do jiu-jitsu, because I'm gonna need someone that's gonna like roll out of something if I like we're at home and I'm like, I need to do this move, it's in my head, I need a body to try this.
Oh yeah. Having a significant other that also does jiu-jitsu is nice. It's like, cool training dummy, let me try this out. It's important. Well, and we'll talk about me leading the classes momentarily, but you know, when it comes to dating somebody, like, it's nice to date somebody who also gets jiu-jitsu, because it's a lifestyle. Like you're here training all the time. Yeah. You don't want to be like, oh, training again. Yeah, like, I am. Yeah,
this is part of
this is who lifestyle. I am. You have to be somebody who like understands it, and even more fun if they also do it, because then it's like, oh, hey, cool. Like, remember that move we went over a few nights ago? Like, can we just do that 100%. On the living room floor? Now?
Exactly. I need at the very least you to understand a few terms and like get like not scared when I put you in a movie.
Yes.
Yes. But you like you're 10 years into the sport, right? Yeah. And I just feel like at your level, do you feel like it's impossible for you to date like a guy that doesn't do it? Like, I'm just like wondering from like your perspective. Like, I'm thinking if I'm a girl, I can't be the one that's like the one protecting the other one in the fight.
That's it.
It can't be it. It's got to be the dynamic Mr. and Mr. Smith kind of like crazy like duo thing.
Yeah, like I don't want to walk around feeling like, oh, if shit goes down, it's me. I have to worry about us. Like, great.
Yeah,
you know,
so
like
funny.
you gotta be the man.
For sure.
Like, I'm also the man.
Yeah.
So like, I have a very big personality in general.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta match it. You gotta like be up there. And like, no offense to white belts, but like, I don't really want to be dating a white belt. You know, it's like a mentality thing. Being in jiu-jitsu for a long time humbles you, matures you.
Definitely.
And there's just like a different sort of mindset that comes with it. Also, a lot of white belt guys have egos. It's like, how can they date a brown belt female who can literally kick their ass with anything they want? You know, there's a few reasons why I wouldn't date like a white belt or somebody who doesn't do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Like, if I didn't date somebody who did jiu-jitsu, they would have to be somebody who is like really passionate about fitness or something like that, because they have to understand
another martial art or something.
Yeah, they have to like understand what goes into this.
Yes,
like the dedication to what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Like, I am going to training again for the 5th time this week. And I'm going to go tomorrow morning too, and maybe tomorrow night. So get used to it.
Yeah. Either come with me or like you're going to get left behind kind of thing.
Yep. Coincidentally, most of the guys that I've dated over the past 10 years have been jiu-jitsu guys.
Makes sense.
It's not like, oh, it's a prerequisite, but it certainly is. It helps.
The mentality thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It definitely, it's so funny. I was just having this conversation with Sam from the Emerald City thing. You go into a bar and you like bring up like some names. Like, if you're not bringing up the biggest jiu-jitsu names that exist, like even them, like if you say John Danaher in a bar, like 2 guys are gonna go, oh yeah, that's the guy that was on Rogan or something. You know what I mean? It's the only way. So we're in this isolated world where there's so much discipline and like respect and the influence that's contained in BJJ. It's like, it transcends so many things that the layman doesn't understand.
Yeah. I mean, just think about like, speaking of bars, just think about all these like macho guys that walk around like, oh yeah, I'll kick your ass. Like, I have all these muscles. Cool.
Good luck,
please. You don't know the first thing. And like, I think jiu-jitsu or fighting, any sort of martial art, teaches you that the more you learn you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 10 years into this and I still am like, I don't know shit.
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
I'm training with the Danaher Death Squad and I was like, why am I here? Like, these guys are so good.
Yeah.
They know so much. Like, there's just so much more to know as you continue to learn things. And then also the sport evolves, right?
Yeah. And it says something about your temperament too, that you're going out of your way to look for where to learn the next thing too. Like you're going to the top shelf. You know what I mean? You're reaching all the way up there to figure out the next thing.
It just kind of happened that way. Like
Yeah.
I just happened to move out here for a job and found Garry.
Yeah.
And now like everything, I think, you know, I've been showing up for myself over the past 3-4 years and putting myself first.
Yeah.
And saying yes to the things that feel good and no to the things that don't feel good. And it's just brought all of these amazing things into my life and opportunities that 5 years ago I never would have even been able to imagine. It's just like, am I living in a movie? This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, you just went down to PR to visit like the whole squad and stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me about your trip a little bit. What did you do down there?
Well, it's fantastic down there.
It is.
How can you complain with beautiful beaches and great weather and literally the best jiu-jitsu in the world?
Yeah.
Like, I'm immensely grateful that I have the opportunity to go down there. Like, you know, right now it's not open for everybody to go down. They don't have their own gym open yet. So in the future, visitors. But right now it's like a really small training space. So it's really limited to like the core people. And I work remotely. So
too easy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, I can come down here all the time. Great. I'm going to do that. And like, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity too.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things, opportunity is knocking. Are you going to open the door or are you going to be like, oh, but I don't know. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go down to Puerto Rico as much as I can. Yeah. I mean, it's outrageously fun. You know, go to training.
What beaches did you go to? I'm curious because I've been down there several times. I have family down there.
We didn't venture around a whole lot.
You were hiking one time. I saw some Instagram
Oh, okay.
stuff.
So I've been down there a couple of times. The first time we went to like some random waterfall. There's
that
a guy.
Was cool. I don't know where you were. I was trying to pick stuff out in the pictures to see if like I had traveled to the same places, but you were in like a really cool spot. I'm like,
we drove like an hour up into the mountains, like all the way up. Really tiny roads.
Yeah.
It was super cool. So there's a guy down there, Fernando. Huge shout out to him. I adore this man. He's been so helpful to the entire team, just like with whatever we need, including hiking spots and what waterfalls to go to.
That's awesome.
So he told us about this waterfall and just like said, hey, go here. It's like literally on the side of the road. You know, you wouldn't Google this and be able to find it. Yeah, so we just like drove out there, like climbed up the waterfall, and that was super cool. I could not tell you the name of it. I have no idea.
I'm gonna have to do some hunting.
Yeah. I might be able to find it like back in a text message later.
I probably have cousins that know, like, oh, that's exactly where that is. I'm like, thanks.
Been there a million times.
It's so funny because the DDS guys are in Dorado.
Correct.
I have family in Toalta. That's where like my grandma and stuff live. And then I don't know if you know this town. It's where I like to do some rock climbing when I'm in PR, so I don't know if you're into that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that you're a rock climber.
Yeah, it's a good time. It starts with a B, and now I can't remember it off the top of my head for some reason.
You're not helpful.
Oh, I know. Oh, man. I feel like retarded right now. How don't I know what this is? It'll come to me. But yeah, when I go down there, if you're there, we can do some climbing.
I'll do some climbing with you. Yeah, one of my best friends lives out in Bend, Oregon, and she's a professional rock climber out there. Yeah. So I went and visited her a couple of years ago and climbed on Smith Rock, which was super cool.
Nice. Do you climb a lot? Or
I do not. No, I do not. But I'm all about just like having fun and having adventures and doing things that take you out of your comfort zone. I was fucking terrified to scale this fucking rock that is like hundreds of feet off the ground. But I was like, all right, here we go. Gonna do it.
So have you ever gone in like a rock climbing gym and like grabbed like weird holds that have like the holes in them and stuff? And you're like, this isn't real. In PR, that's where the fucking shit's at.
Really?
Because it's like, oh my God, it's like a volcanic rock, and I can like put my 2 fingers through this and grab it like it's like a handle. It's so weird.
All right, well, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, there's like a
going
cave.
Down. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's some really cool nature down there. We didn't go to a ton of different beaches because we trained every day.
Yeah, I mean,
and like
I probably would have been doing the same thing.
Yeah, training's like it's not at 7 o'clock at night.
Like, yeah, you know, they're really nice in PR, but
we did go to the beach all the time. We just didn't like venture around to different parts of the island. It was just like, oh, this beach that's 5 minutes away. We're gonna go here and just chill there because we're there for training.
Yeah. No, that's
But
awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's freaking awesome there.
Yeah.
If you're there, because I'll be going down fairly regularly and as often as possible.
My mom wants to go down, I think, pretty soon, actually. She was going to go down this month, but they changed, like, the way flights work with whatever. I don't know. Like, did you have to take, like, a COVID test or anything?
I did not.
Oh, man.
I did not.
Maybe I'm just reading.
Well,
some weird
okay,
stuff.
so you have 3 options.
Okay, all right.
Take
Let's
a
hear it.
COVID test and get a negative result here. Take a COVID test when you get there and turn in your negative result, or mandatory self-quarantine for 14 days. So I did the mandatory self-quarantine for 14 days. Totally stayed away from everybody.
Yeah. That's funny. Now, where did you stay with the, like, they have, like, a lot of houses. Like, everyone, like, has a house down there.
Yeah. So they're all in, like, apartments.
I saw you were Frank Rosenthal and Damien.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I stayed with them and Nick Ortiz. They're all in the same apartment.
Nice.
Those 3 guys. So I stayed with them both times I was down there. And most of the guys live in the same, like, condo complex, which is really cool and really convenient because, like, everybody's there and, you know, easy to get to the gym and carpool.
No doubt.
And then just, like, go hang out later.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, we're watching the fights. Cool. Let's all go over Gary's or whatever.
That seems like the jam, man.
Yeah. I mean, so most of the guys are there. There are some guys that don't live in that same community. You know, like, they have other apartments or, like, Gordon has a house that he's in. But yeah, everybody's kind of like in that spot. It's sick. There's a pool and a hot tub there. So it's like, oh, cool. Let's all just like go down to the hot tub right now.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Man. I don't know if I could do a hot tub in PR. It's so hot already down there.
So the key is to do it at night.
Maybe. I don't know,
I never went like during the day, but one time we went like late afternoon and I'm like, this is way too hot. I'm getting out of here. Just going to go in the pool. But like at night when it doesn't get chilly.
Yeah.
But when it starts to cool down a little bit, that's when it's nice. And the hot tub itself cools down a little bit too. They like turn off the heat at a certain point. So it's like not super, super hot. And it's like, it's good because we're training. And it's like, okay, like the warm water feels really nice on your muscles and everything.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Yeah. I like when I go down, I take a cold shower before bed. Like because we're at my grandparents' house, they don't have AC.
Oh,
so it's rough.
Geez.
So I got to take a cold shower. Like, I take like a few cold showers a day. It's
especially if you're there like in the summer.
Oh, dude.
I can't even imagine what it's going to be
even
like
in
down
the
there.
winter. It's rough. Like so what was it? Hurricane Maria came and like wiped out like the power grid over there.
Yeah.
And I had, like, we were just talking about my school bus. I used to have solar panels on my school bus. I took that whole thing down and shipped it down there, and I set it up on my grandparents' house.
Wow.
So, like, while I was there, I was working in, like, the sun. Oh, I was still fucking fried. It was the winter time, like, by the time I made it down there. And, that shit was rough.
Oh, my God.
I was like, I don't sunburn easily, but, man, that shit fucked me up. It was like, try being a roofer in Puerto Rico, bro. Tell me a harder fucking job out there.
Everything is so much slower in Puerto Rico, and maybe that's why everyone is just like exhausted from the heat. It's like, nope, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
I mean, everything is slow compared to like this area. The Northeast.
Yes, the Northeast
is fast paced.
The Northeast
and then you go down there.
Is on crack. Like everything here is just so like it's so funny. You ever hear like an East Coast guy go to California and go, "Dude, I'm gonna take this place over." You know what I mean? Like you guys are so lazy here. It's just a different lifestyle.
Yeah, or just like driving. Like you go out and you drive on the West Coast or like anywhere else in the country, and it's like, oh, we don't have to go 85 miles an hour right now.
We gotta go.
Oh. Cool, no rush.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
What did you eat? Did you eat anything special? Did you have mofongo while you were down there?
I didn't.
Come on.
I didn't.
Come on.
I
There's
know.
so many good food spots.
I know. Well, okay, so we have a favorite barbecue spot. It's called Pico Rico. Right. It is the best. It was like, especially Frank. Frank loves Pico Rico. He's Frank, I gotta go
Frank
every day.
has a palate, and he has he took me to I went to Bayside to visit him, and he took me to this like place down the street. I actually ate like a few times that day with him. He's like, yeah, we gotta go over here and there. I'm like, dude, you have like the best like advice like on where to go to eat. So I definitely trust if that's Frank's spot, I know it's legit.
Yeah. I mean, everybody loves it. It's so good. I mean, They have ribs and they have chicken and like anything.
Did you see them kill a chicken on the road?
No, I didn't. But
some of these the back alley places, the chickens are running around and they'll kill them.
There are chickens everywhere in
the
Puerto
dogs,
Rico.
I don't know about if they're doing that to the dogs.
I hope not.
The dogs are around too. It's so funny when I'm down there. I always I do Instagram stories whenever I see a dog. I'm like, whose dog is that?
Belongs to the land.
Exactly.
Just like they're everywhere. The chickens.
Yeah,
they're everywhere.
My grandpa does that though. Like he'll find chickens like running around his like house.
Yeah.
And he'll kill them and that's dinner tonight. He's a fucking gangster.
Yeah. Well, I grew up having chickens out in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah,
so like
in Quakertown, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in Quakertown. I'm like on the outskirts. So I
hood.
grew up on 5.5 acres. We had chickens, and sometimes you do just have to kill them. So Dad went out and he was like, all right, cool. Got the axe, got the chicken. Here we go.
That's raw, yo.
That's whatever.
That's what it is. You gotta go. There's this place. Oh man, noises.
It's a train.
Oh, it's a train.
Yeah, the train runs right back here.
That was good. I'm glad that wasn't like a long, like mile-long train. Those are the worst. But there's this place in Isla Verde, which is near the airport, right?
Okay.
You have San Juan Airport. Isla Verde is right here. There's this taco spot. It's the best around.
You're gonna have to send it to me.
Yo,
and I
gotta look up the name of the place because
Okay.
I don't know what it's called. I know where it is. Like you drop me in that city, I will find my way there. Like I know, like relative to the beach, I know how to get there.
All right.
It's one of those like it's in like 2 blocks and then out. Yeah, that place is the shit.
Yeah, there's some really good like hidden gems for food there. Yeah, Pico Rico happens to be really close to where everybody lives. So it's like, oh, after training, we'll just swing by, pick up Pico Rico. You want plantains? Yes, of course I do.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Did you pick any fruit off the trees?
I did not.
Dude.
But there are coconuts everywhere.
They're everywhere. Like I remember we were on so you have like Culebra, you know about Culebra?
No.
It's like the little island, like top 10 nicest beaches in the world.
Okay.
You have to take a ferry there off the main island.
Sure.
Yeah. There's also Vieques, which is my favorite beach in the world because the way the sunset goes over. You gotta go.
All right, gotta go. Do I have to take a ferry to get there too?
Yes.
Okay.
But the Culebra one is at 6 a.m. This one's at like noon, so you're money. You don't even have to wake up early to get to
All
this
right,
one.
good.
Yeah, this one it's so weird. It's full of like white college kids. This island, it's like natives and then like white college kids that are working the bars. I'm like, what the fuck? Like it was so weird, but it's a very tourist friendly spot. Yeah, dude, the food on this island is expensive, but you can like go up and just like I remember like I was making like fruit salad with shit. I was like mango, fucking. I bought a machete and I was just like chopping shit
I'm imagining
down.
you like Fruit Ninja. Remember
Dude,
that game we always
legit,
used to play like with your katanas and shit?
I bought a machete at like a hardware store, and it was like in the back of the Jeep. It was so funny. I would climb up and like chop down canepas. You know what those are? It's
No.
like they're like these little green fruit. It has like
Oh,
gut
I heard of
things.
these.
They're really
Yes.
good. You suck on them. Like they're fire. All right, but we've been talking about fucking PR for like an hour here.
We can talk about it forever.
Yeah,
for real. It's just wonderful.
I definitely, I'm hoping you're down there next time I go because I would definitely. want to
Yes.
party
Well,
with
we
you
could
guys. You and
arrange it.
Frank would be fucking sweet.
Yes.
We'll definitely.
We'll figure
line
this
something
out for sure.
Let me ask you, what is let's kind of get back to the gym stuff.
Yeah.
So what is what's the structure of the classes and stuff that go on here, right? So you run the women's class.
Yes.
Do you have like Gary's obviously in PR, but who's running like the classes and stuff here?
Yeah, so when Garry left, he made Chris Saab the head instructor.
Nice.
And he's also a brown belt. He's been training with Garry for forever. Awesome dude. You'll take his class tonight,
Yeah,
and it'll be
I'm excited.
awesome. So he does all of our 7:30 classes. We have 2 classes each night. We have a 6:30 and a 7:30. Chris does all the 7:30 classes. 6:30 alternates between people. I do Wednesday women's class.
Yeah.
And then we have an open mat at 8:30 every night. And honestly, these guys would stay here till like 2 a.m. if you let them. Like
Yeah.
they're so.
It says open 24 hours out front.
I don't even know how late some of these guys stay because I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. I gotta go home and shower, eat, go to bed because
Yeah,
I need to.
work
I
in
need
the
to work
morning,
tomorrow, and I'm one of those crazy people that like lifts in the morning too. So I'm like, I gotta be up
Damn,
early.
dude.
I
You're
gotta
getting
lift.
after it
I
all day,
am.
every
No,
day.
no excuses, man. Gotta do it.
Respect.
Yeah. So it's the 6:30, 7:30, and then the open mat until whenever it's over.
Yeah.
And then we have classes on the weekends as well. We have an 11 o'clock class followed by an open mat. I sometimes teach the Saturday class, which is super fun. And we also have morning and afternoon classes. So Monday through Thursday, we have morning classes, and then we have afternoon classes on Wednesday and Friday, I think. So it's like anytime you want to train,
it's popping off.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there's guys here, Saturdays, classes at 11, open mat starts at 12. People will stay here until like 3.
Yeah.
Some days, like, we'll do some hard rounds, and then it's just like, okay, let's drill. Let's like explore this. Like, hey, do you remember this? Like, let's work on these things. So it's like a really cool collaborative environment that I didn't experience before I started training under Garry. Like my old gym, it was more just like, we're just going to grind each other into the floor and then we'll go home.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the concept of drilling until I came here. And I would like go to Henzo's, and John never starts class on time. So I'd be there early. I would take the train. I'd be there stretching, doing whatever. And there'd be people drilling. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like everybody does this? This is interesting. I wouldn't even know what to do. And like, it was just this foreign concept to me for a little while. But now I'm like, drilling is amazing. It's super helpful.
So impactful to your game.
Yeah. It was just something that like didn't really do. I feel like my old gym was just like, we're just a bunch of really tough dudes who are doing this jiu-jitsu thing.
You find that, I think, like different culture, like gym cultures, right? So you have like competitive gyms, like obviously you're going to be drilling and, getting your game super tight. You have other gyms that are like self-defense, like oriented things, and like more hobbyist kind of things with like older dudes and stuff. I travel around, like, and I can kind of vibe the different stuff, and you get different things everywhere, but my vibe is definitely a competitive gym environment.
Yeah.
I want guys that are taking this like they're professional,
Yeah.
Like this is their shit.
Definitely. It's totally a different sort of vibe. And they take it more seriously, and they want to perfect the art, not just know the art.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's one thing to know how to do a triangle. It's another thing to know all of the little details and just like intricacies that are going to make this work. I'm sure you've been in the situation where you have somebody in a triangle and you're like, I can't finish this. What's going on? You ask a question and it was just like one little shift that you needed to make.
It's so funny that you bring up triangles as the thing, because this year I just started liking triangles this 2021, because like my buddy Matt showed me like a little detail that I was missing. I'm like, what the fuck? No wonder this never works from close down. I've been doing this so wrong the whole time. I end up in like reverse triangles sometimes, like just because I have like some squiggly legs in a scramble. It's so weird, man. You figure out like different parts of your game from different people. You just need to hear one little thing from a guy that's been on it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hearing maybe the same thing you've heard over and over and over again, but said in a slightly different way by somebody else, and it just clicks. Yeah, and you're like, oh, I get it now. Yeah. Cool.
He's
amazing.
Like, tomato. I've been saying tomato this whole time.
Yeah. But going back to what you said, I don't even know how long ago now, about like leading the women's program and being like an inspiration and a mentor. Like, that's one of the things that's cool about the women's classes. It's really small. Just in general, there aren't a lot of women in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Try to get them all on the mat at one time. Good luck. So it's a very small class, and it becomes very personalized. Sometimes it's like, basically I'm giving a private lesson. Yeah. So it's super cool for them because I can help them tweak things and help them understand it a little bit better and be like, oh no, like just move your hand just a little bit this way. All right, cool. And it just makes a lot more sense to them. And as a female, you have to be a lot more technical because you're not as strong. You're not as fast. Just biologically, you're not as athletic.
Yeah.
So teaching them those little things, and also like, there are things that work really well for women that men aren't going to teach you because they don't know it.
Yeah.
We have different body types. Yeah. So it's like really cool to be able to impart that, and then also just like share experiences with them. Like, definitely. I've seen it all. I've been doing this for 10 years. I have seen so much shit. I've experienced awful situations that I hope none of these women have to go through. Yeah. And, if they're ever struggling with something or they need any sort of advice, whether it's about jiu-jitsu technically or about just the culture or, you know, whatever it is, I hope that they feel they can come to me and just talk to me about it. Because a lot of times it's about just having somebody that understands what you're going through.
Definitely.
At my old gym, I was the only female that consistently came for those 7 years. And I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't know like any females in jiu-jitsu for like maybe 5 years until I started kind of like branching out and like, yeah, I should like know other women. Like, this is weird.
Yeah, I can see how daunting that might be. Do you have advice like that you could give like any women that are interested in getting into jiu-jitsu? Like, how can they find a gym that they're going to be comfortable in? You know?
Yeah, well, for anybody, definitely try the gym. Go there, try the class, go to other gyms, see what works for you. It's really important that you feel good where you are.
Yeah. Do you feel like you could vibe it pretty quickly when you found the right gyms?
Yeah. Yeah. When I probably wouldn't have been able to do that as a fresh white belt, but now, I mean, I tried out a few different gyms when I found Garry's and like, I knew like it felt good. It felt collaborative. I felt like obviously the technique is, top level. And to be honest, like before I came to Garry's, I didn't know much about like the professionals in the sport. It's not like I sought after Garry.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, okay, like I've heard of Garry Tonon, cool. So like I wasn't biased like that, but I just went to other gyms and like I've been to gyms where I walk in there, it's a brown belt female and there's other females and it's like, oh, cool. There's a target. I'm going to go attack it. And it's like, I don't want to be in an environment where I'm constantly being attacked and I'm a measuring stick.
Yeah.
Like that's not cool. You know, like it's one thing to be competitive and to challenge each other. It's another thing to be like, you're my bar. And if I break your arm today, that means I'm good.
Yeah.
Like you don't want that.
No, definitely you want to avoid that stuff. It's funny like you say that because there's like a lot of blue belts that like I'm a blue belt and we all kind of came up around the same time and we all kind of like ranked up at the same time. Like we go after each other like mercilessly, but at the same time we can be like, all right, bro, I have like some legit questions. Can we like take this slow? And it's so funny how like you can get like the tiger or like the panda bear like out of anybody. Like
well, it's
that you come up with, you know.
It's like that humbling thing with jiu-jitsu. Like, sure, you guys are going at it, and that's great. You're probably scrappy, and you're being competitive and really pushing each other. But at the end of the day, it's like we're teammates. Exactly. I'm not competing with you. I'm competing with myself. And when you can understand that, the ego gets removed. There are so many people who come into jiu-jitsu that have egos. Yeah, and it can be really dangerous. You know, like. I've been in situations where, you know, a coach is like, oh, hey, you're a bodybuilder. You're 200 pounds. Go with my purple belt female. She's going to kick the shit out of you. And I'm like, excuse me, what? Like, this is dangerous. Yeah,
heavy white belts are the worst.
It was like his first class. And like this guy, he just like needed to prove that like, oh yeah, I taught this purple belt girl and she's going to beat you up. And it was like all the ego thing. Yeah. So when you're able to remove that and just be like, hey, I can learn something from you. You can learn something from anybody.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's important to like be in an environment where you don't have a lot of egos. You know, everybody says, oh yeah, take your shoes off and leave your ego at the door. Yes, but are you actually doing that?
Yeah, don't let it creep back on the mat
once
you leave it there.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. So that's something like I try to avoid. You want to be in this like environment that encourages learning and helping, and you know, it's not about competing with your teammates. Like your teammates. Yeah. We're competing with the people out there. So collectively, let's all get better. I'm going to push you. You're going to push me. Exactly. You're going to teach me. I'm going to teach you. And it's just going to be like this really nice symbiotic relationship.
Exactly. Everyone's like, the rising tide raises all ships.
Exactly. But as far as like women getting into this, if you are particularly intimidated, believe me, it can be really intimidating walking onto a mat full of men. Yeah. I get it. I need to roll around with all of these guys? What do you mean? Yeah. Find a gym that has a women's program. And I think healthy gyms will have a women's program. If they can keep women, then you know it's a healthy environment, especially if you are a female yourself. Like if there are women there and you want to feel good, see if there are other women. And if there's a women's program, amazing. Some schools are too small to have a women's program. I understand that. Yeah. But if you're really feeling uncomfortable, go somewhere that has a women's program. It's a really nice stepping stone into the world of jiu-jitsu. You know, lower pressure, less social anxiety attached to it, because now it's just women. And me personally, I just make my classes fun as shit. I say so many inappropriate jokes, and like everybody's just laughing, having a good time, but also learning a lot. They feel good, so they're gonna keep coming back. There's something that they get out of that class. Like I said, the women's classes are smaller because there just aren't as many women. So it's
smaller, more intimate classes are awesome. Like you said, if sometimes it turns into a private, I love that situation where it's like me in a room with like 2 black belts and like another blue belt. I'm like, oh, we're about to learn some shit.
Yeah, it's like, I can ask my questions.
Exactly.
They're going to be watching me the whole time. Yeah. I mean, that's what I would do. Like, if I were intimidated as a female, if I knew somebody who was intimidated or they had social anxiety or something like that, just like go into one women's class, you know, and see what it's about. And stay in the women's class until you're comfortable going into the co-ed class. And that's cool too, because you make friends in the women's class. And then it's
definitely,
oh, are you going to be at class on Monday night? Cool. Can we partner up? And you feel a lot more comfortable going, because even when you start to learn jiu-jitsu, it's like, oh, now I have to go to the co-ed class. Oh my gosh. It can be so intimidating. Even sometimes now, like I'll go to a new gym by myself and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Like, what is this going to be? Because you don't really know what you're going to get.
Do you feel like you, I feel like when I visit gyms, like it seems like girls tend to partner up with girls a lot of times. Is that, do you feel like that's like a good habit that like a lot of people have? Or do you think like you kind of going to pigeonhole yourself by doing that sort of thing?
I think it's good, especially like for that comfort thing. If you are uncomfortable, I personally don't partner up with women usually. If
you can help it,
because I'm a brown belt. Most women are not, so that's the reason I wouldn't. It's a different scenario if it's
it makes complete sense.
If it's like, oh, this is somebody's first class ever and I'm in the class, I'm going to partner with them and make sure that they have a good class. But like, I'm there for me too. Like, I love teaching, I love helping, but I'm also taking classes as well. So I personally generally prefer to partner up with the men, just because they tend to be like more, I can find somebody who's more my skill level. I do see it often though, where women will partner with women. And the most important thing is that you feel comfortable. If you're going to partner up with a man, while he might be like more technical, be able to help you more, if you feel uncomfortable, you're not going to get a lot out of that class. You know, if you're like, you're not able to focus
edge the whole time. Makes sense.
So like in that sort of situation, yes. I mean, I think you should like try different training partners though too. Like don't stick to the exact same person every single time, because you can learn different things from everybody. And I know we all get into that like that mode where it's like, oh, this is my preferred training partner. I know I have my preferred partners for sure. But I do like mix it up a little bit. Like you get different body types feel differently. So maybe like
That's such an interesting thing that took me like my first year of jiu-jitsu, because I was rolling with like mostly just people in my gym. When I started visiting other gyms and like I got my hands on like a fat guy for the first time, I'm like, holy shit, I don't know how to handle this at all.
Well, that's like a whole nother beast. It's like I can't close my guard around you.
It's like, dude, how am I gonna do anything that I know? This is a nightmare.
You have taken my whole game away from me. Exactly. Yeah, but it's the truth. I mean, of course, when you're competing, you're going against people your size generally. Of course, there's absolute divisions and things like that, but generally like, okay, I'm going to be going with people my size. So sure, it's good to train with those people. It's good to drill with those people, because those are the body types you're going to need to know how to do the moves on. But, you know, if you're in this for like a self-defense situation, like for women, a lot of the reasons they come into jiu-jitsu is so they know how to protect themselves.
Definitely.
So
have you ever had to use jiu-jitsu in a real life situation? Do you want to tell the story? You don't have to.
Sure. I was on a date. It was the only time I was ever on a dating app. It was when I worked in Manhattan, and I went on this date, and I knew it was weird from the get-go. And I'm like, yep, this isn't going to work out. We get a drink, and I'm like, I'm done here. Gonna go home now. And I was in Manhattan, and I didn't know exactly where I was. I am still not super familiar with the city. And it was like a part of the city I'd never been to. And I'm like, all right, like, thanks so much. I'm going to head out here. And he's like, okay. Like, oh, why don't we like go to the park and you can like teach me some jiu-jitsu? I'm like, no, absolutely not. He's like, well, I'll like go to my apartment, get a yoga mat. We'll like go to the park and like you can do it there. I was like, no, like I'm in my work clothes. Like, also, no. Yeah. And he was just like pushy about it. Yeah. So I'm walking towards the train station and he's walking with me and he starts to like go over towards a door. And I'm like, all right, guess he's leaving. Cool. Bye. Thank you. Have a great night. He's like, no. Like, I'm just going to get come on, let's go do jiu-jitsu. And I was like, no, not doing this. Like, going to go home. And like before this point, there had been absolutely no physical contact whatsoever. So I'm walking, he grabs my wrist and I'm like, oh man, what are you doing? I turn on and he grabbed the other wrist. Now he has both of my wrists. And I'm like, bitch, please. I break his grips. I grab his. I'm like, don't ever fucking touch me like that. And I guess he took that as an invitation and pushed me up against the wall and started trying to make out with me. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Yeah. Crazy. And you never know how much or how little somebody knows. Like this guy, he could be like some crazy like Muay Thai dude. He knows how to fight. Maybe he has weapons. So I don't like to bring violence into situations until absolutely necessary. Just because you really don't know. And if nothing else, jiu-jitsu teaches you that. You know, you walk up to some guy who looks unsuspecting. It's like, oh wait, he's actually really good at this sport. Like,
let me see his ears. Cauliflower.
Yeah. So he's like pushing me up against this wall. There's nobody around. And I put my hands on his chest. And this guy's like 6 foot. I'm about 5'8". So I'm like, no, dude, I'm pushing off of his chest. He's a big dude. And it's like he took the resistance as even more of an invitation and like started going up my shirt and things like that. And I'm like, oh no. And it got like even worse when he put his hand on my throat. And I'm like, this is not the time or place for this. So at that moment, I was like, we're done here. And I like clinched up with him, circled around, got a collar tie, snapped his head down, and I guillotined him and left him unconscious on the parking or on the sidewalk there.
I'll drink to that.
And I'm like, yes, cheers. You know, I was like, here's your jiu-jitsu lesson. Goodbye.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that worked out for you. And it's a great example of how this can be really effective in a real life situation too.
And I knew what to do because I've done that thousands of times in the gym. Yeah. You know, I've drilled all these moves over and over and over again. So it was natural to me. And this is something that I tell women who are interested in self-defense. I've done a couple of self-defense seminars. I'm doing one this Sunday. And that is...
Come check it out.
Come check it out. Come see us. Only if you're a woman. Yeah. But it's something that I emphasize. Like, you are not going to remember one thing that I teach you today. You might remember some concepts, but if I ask you to do these moves 2 months from now, you're not going to remember. It's like somebody teaches you how to play a song on the guitar. And you're like, cool, got it. A year from now, you don't touch a guitar. A year from now, you going to remember it? Absolutely not. It's the same thing with a combat sport. You have to stay up to it, especially something as intricate as jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And
like, how long does it, like you've been training 10 years and you're still a brown belt, you know, you're not even at the master level yet. 10 years, you know what I mean? Yeah.
It takes a long time to like get really good at this and understand what you're doing. And I talk to people all the time. It's like, oh my God, I've been training for 6 months and I'm still like, I can't finish anything. It's like, that's normal.
Yeah. It is.
You know, it's just
like, look who you're going up against. You're the new guy. Of course, that's going to be the case. You know,
exactly. But it's something that I emphasize so much. Like, unless it's muscle memory, in a moment when your adrenaline is so high and there's so much at stake, it's got to be muscle memory. If you don't have it down, you're not going to remember it and you're not going to know what to do. And I'm just super grateful that situation happened to me and I knew what to do, and not somebody who didn't. Like, God forbid, like one of my friends who doesn't train, like, holy shit, what could have happened to them? You know, like, I wasn't like scared in the moment. I wasn't like upset in the moment, but afterwards it was just like, wow, this this person like totally violated my boundaries.
Yeah.
Like in every sense of the concept. Like, nope, I'm just going to disregard everything that you said. Like that's what was upsetting for me. And then just thinking of like other people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, what kind of circumstance they could be in. So it's part of the reason why I love to share this with other women and other men too, just like anybody, you know, because it is really important to know how to defend yourself. God forbid you need to.
Yeah. Well, I remember like my first like encounter with like a jiu-jitsu situation was like, and this was before I trained, but someone put me in a rear naked choke and knocked me out. And you know what I mean? It was like a change of like my perspective on things. And, you know, I had gone in like to the military shortly after that. And then they teach you a cross choke with like someone's collar. And it was like, oh, this is a game changer. And that's kind of what got me like into wanting to learn more about, you know, grappling martial arts. And I did a little bit of wrestling when I was in school as well. But it's so interesting. Like I have my son now, and I'm encouraging him. Like I'm like, he did like some wrestling, and I just got him a gi last year, and I'm like, hey,
so
you want to come with Dad? You can do some jiu-jitsu. So it's so funny. Like it's funny. Like it's so funny because there's a black belt from Paper Street. I don't know if you know that gym, Paper Street Jiu-Jitsu. The Myers brothers are trained out of there. But Jay, the black belt, he never. When you like go give him a hug, he always gets underhooks, and it's so fucking funny. So now I taught my son always get the underhooks, because if he lets me get him, I pick him up, and he's like, ah.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
It's so funny. Like you develop habits through jujitsu. It's just so things that you do now. Yeah. Like, no, I get the underhooks. Thank you very much. Yeah, exactly. These are mine.
It's so funny. Like Jay, like if you try to like, anytime you like try to be affectionate with him, like a handshake, like he arm dragged me one time. I'm like, bro, come on. I'm leaving. I'm trying to say goodbye. It's so funny that like you can really teach yourself. You know what I mean? Just got to be careful you're not doing it to grandma. You know?
Yeah. Know your audience.
Yeah. Know your audience. Exactly. It's exactly me. Whenever I'm like about to play Metallica and I see some old ladies over there, I'm like, I guess we'll play some wagon wheel instead.
This isn't what they're gonna like. I don't know. There's some old ladies out there that probably love Metallica.
Yes, there are. I've had that requested to me at a show from an old lady before. I was pleasantly surprised. They were like, "Simple Man, oh my God, Metallica, I love it." I'm like, baby, I'll give you a good show right now.
They start like banging their heads like, yeah.
They're more like dropping a tip in my jar, and I'm like,
oh, that's even better. That's even better.
No, let's talk a little bit about like the competition side of jiu-jitsu though, like the self-defense stuff. I'm so happy that you were able to give me like a legit story like that honestly, like I found that really touching. Like it's
authentic
stuff. Yeah, it is. It's real. I was actually this weekend. I had a cop on my podcast before, and he runs a course called Vigor Training.
Okay.
And he just did a course this weekend. I was lucky enough to attend, and it was a home defense thing. So
cool.
we were doing like pistols, like how to like clear your own house. Clearing your house by yourself is a fucking nightmare. But like we were learning, like, because you never know which room they're in. You know, you got to really like he was teaching us like you have to really use your ears. You know your house, like there's like.
Well, this actually sounds super cool, and awesome. It's something that I would actually love to do.
I'll show you some videos after the podcast. I saw like some pictures on your Instagram with.
I am a proud and happy gun owner.
Oh,
yeah.
America, let's go.
America.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. I'm happy to hear this. fellow. It's so funny. Like in jiu-jitsu, there's not that many people. Like I got into jiu-jitsu for self-defense personally, but you know, I'm on top of like everything that, you know, my competence in any sort of defense situation is like I want to be able to protect me and the people I love, kind of thing. So sometimes you need the old equalizer for that.
Sure. I mean, you also have no idea, like, are they going to have a gun?
Exactly.
Like, what if they have a weapon and you don't? It's like, well, now what can I use as a weapon?
Yeah.
You know?
It was crazy.
Weapons change the game.
I'll show you some stuff later if you're interested.
Oh, yes.
Of course. It was actually really fucking awesome.
For sure.
So I was thinking like that would be something interesting with you. But have you ever like in your self-defense stuff like brought up like the concept of weapons? Like what do you do if someone like pulls a knife and stuff like that? I've never been to like a self-defense seminar, but I imagine like the jiu-jitsu ones have to be better than these like crazy ones. I mean, Krav Maga has some like legit like come do it.
Depends on who's teaching it.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's like you're coming to one course, you're not gonna retain this in a year.
Exactly.
You know, you better be training this regularly.
Exactly. I personally don't speak about it because I don't consider myself an expert in it. Like,
makes sense, yeah.
I'm not going to teach somebody what to do with a blade because I don't feel particularly like competent in it, like not good enough to teach it. So I'm not going to,
there's like whole martial arts behind like knife fighting and stuff. So that makes sense. I was talking to like one of the cops, like the course I was taking, it was with a couple cops and stuff. And like, I was talking to the one of them and he's like, dude, if there's a knife in the fight, everyone's getting cut. Like if you're going to fight back, you're going to get cut getting it. And even if you get it, you know what I mean? You're going to be fucking lacerated by the time you get there. Best thing to do in a knife fight, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have to, it's like, what can you use as a shield?
Yeah,
or
that's
like,
what he was kind of showing.
Or like,
you have to use like your surroundings to
like
blind them and shit.
Is there a broom in the room? Yeah. Like, what can you use that's like a stick, anything, a trash can as a shield.
He was even using pillows, like to. Like, it was funny. Like
a jacket.
It's all like in play. Yeah,
a jacket on your forearm is better than your skin.
100%.
You know, so like, what can you use?
Yeah,
you know, it makes a big difference when you can like find something to assist you, but like, God forbid anybody ever has to be in that situation, because that's just like you said, if there's a knife, somebody's getting cut somehow.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Well, one of the things too, I noticed, like I went to the course of the guy, I know the guy that runs the course through jiu-jitsu, ironically, but I went with a guy from my gym as well, and it was funny, like when we were doing like force on force, so like that's what all these marks are actually. These are like little
get a little rough over there.
The simunitions. Oh, it was so rough. I got hit in the knuckle.
Oh,
anyway, whatever, rough stuff. But it was interesting when I was going against him. We were finding that we were both matching each other's energy, like in jiu-jitsu. So like it wasn't realistic. We would see each other in the hallway and just dump mags into each other. Like, I want to inflict more pain than you do. It was so funny.
It's like, oh, you're my friend. Fuck you even more.
Exactly. So it was like we were talking afterward. Like, we should go against other people next time to make it more realistic. Because if I identify it's like my buddy, I'm gonna fucking just dump the mag in you. Like, I know.
It's so funny. Boys are like that. Girls are not. Girls are like, oh, it's my friend. Like, I'm not going to do it. Like the exact opposite sort of mentality between men and women.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
But it's so cool because one of the things, like, to tie it back to the jiu-jitsu with the self-defense stuff is, if it wasn't for my confidence in jiu-jitsu, like, I want to close the distance, like, with the weapon, you know what I mean? If I identify you have a weapon, maybe I can shoot, like, you know, your fucking hand or some vitals. By the time I get to you, I can disarm you and then restrain you, you know? I would not be as confident pushing the, you know what I mean? And I just think that there's a unique thing there that I feel like more people could be talking about in the self-defense scenario where, like, you know, there's a lot of scenarios where, you know, someone's not as lucky as you, where they're a skilled martial artist and they get assaulted by like some, you know, oppressive force. It's good to, you know, maybe be armed, but be confident in that and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
it's important to train every aspect of the self-defense thing.
Yeah,
you know?
it's the same thing. If you might have a gun, but if you never hold it in your hand, if you never fire rounds out of it, you're never going to feel comfortable with it in a situation where you would need to use it. Yeah. Or, you know, even just have it in your hand and pretend like, oh yeah, I am going to use this as like an intimidation factor. Like,
oh, there's
if
a
you don't
real
feel
thing behind like being shaky when like.
Oh yeah,
it's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't want to have to use this stuff, man. I hate the sound of like the cartilage being torn and like the ligaments.
Yo, but if somebody is trying to hurt me, yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah.
If you have to.
And it's good to know that you're capable of that. And that's the thing. Mm-hmm. Like, it was funny. My friend was saying, like, it's good to know I have this switch. It's a scary fact that there's a switch here that I can turn off and I don't care about humanity anymore. But it's good to know that I'm capable of articulating that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's kind of go back into the competition stuff. What's your favorite rule set and stuff? Let's kind of talk about like some jiu-jitsu stuff.
I don't consider myself any sort of like competition expert.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just saying, like, what's your preference? Yeah,
I'm going to tell you my little competition story because I have like this. You know, I started jiu-jitsu when I was a senior in high school. Mm-hmm. And it was one of these things like, oh, this is like cool to know how to do. And then I went to college. I was a double major in college. And it wasn't like two hard majors. I was civil engineering and architecture.
Yeah.
And rough. Yeah. I was overloaded every semester, but like jiu-jitsu was always this thing that I did. And I was consistently doing it at least 3 times a week. So like throughout my academic career, I wasn't like focused on competing. I did a couple of times, but you know, it wasn't like a big deal to me because I'm like, I need to get these degrees. And then I went on to grad school and I'm an overachiever and a perfectionist. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to graduate top of my class. Like, of course I am. So I was like, I was really deep into all of that. So I didn't start like really getting like serious about competition and like wanting to be really good at jiu-jitsu until I was out of college. And I started training here and like developing a new love for the sport. Like I fell in love with jiu-jitsu when I started and I fell in love with it again when I joined this gym and started training under Garry, because it was just like a whole new world that opened up. But I felt like I had a weird relationship with competing, and it took me like a while to get over that, because it was like there was a lot of outside pressure at my old gym to compete. Like, oh yeah, like of course you're gonna win. Like you have to win. Like you're just training with all guys all the time. And I'm like, yeah, so are all these other girls. Yeah. And like I was so afraid to fail that I wouldn't do it. I just like had this mentality like, oh my God, I have to win. And if I don't win, then I'm disappointing everybody. And like, I have to be the best because all these people think I'm the best. And if I'm not, then I'm a fraud. It was like this terrible like dialogue going on in my head.
It's so funny. Some of the best instructors I know that are competitive, they have like the imposter syndrome thing. And it's like, dude, the fact that you're worried about the legitimacy of your name, like that makes me respect you more. So yeah, I can definitely like attest to what you're saying. I've seen it.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to like get over that. And there were some other like personal things that happened that made me have this really weird relationship with competing. Like the last time I competed at my old gym was like one of the worst days of my life for various reasons. Yeah. And it just took me a long time to like get over that. And I finally did right before COVID. I was like, I'm going to fucking do this. This is mine again. It doesn't belong to anybody else. They can't control me anymore. I'm not going to let, one, the fear, and two, like these other external circumstances determine what I do. Yeah. So I'm like, cool. Like, I'm just going to get back out there. I have to do it for me. And I really invested myself in it. And I did great. Like, obviously nerves, adrenaline, all of that. But I'm like, cool. Like, I got this. And then COVID happened. And I haven't competed since then. Yeah. But it is something that, you know, looking to do in the future. I would say, like, points gets annoying, personally, like going back to the rule set question, because I think people, like, they play the game. They play the tactics. Like, I'm just going to rack up all these points. But it's like, but how's your jiu-jitsu? Like, I know so many people that's like, oh, yeah, like, you know, I've won all these things. And then you roll with them and you're like, you didn't even do a submission attempt, you know, and that's what jiu-jitsu is. Jiu-jitsu is about the submissions, and just being on this team, training with the DDS, you know, training under Garry and John and everybody, you know, my game lends itself better to sub only, or at least like, you know, first half is sub only, and then we start looking at points. Stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. I definitely like that better, because I think when you're not so concerned about the position and the points and, oh my God, I have to get both of my hooks in before I go to this this body triangle, like you start to take more risks. You start to be more exciting. Like it's not as big of a deal when you're not concerned about the points, and it becomes more exciting, and like more people want to watch it. Yeah. And you can try to pull things off, and it's like, all right, well, it's the first 5 minutes. Now we're going for points. All right, now I'll gather my points and do that. Yeah. But I do like the submission only sort of things. That can also be like exhausting or hard to watch sometimes. Like my teammate Damien, he had a match that went 52 minutes. It was sub-only match. I heard about this. 52 minutes.
And they did some like bullshit rule on it.
Yeah, they did.
I couldn't believe that.
They did change the rules at the 50-minute mark. It was supposed to be submission only to the end, but it got to the point where they're like, we have to end this at some point. Like, that's a long freaking match. You know, and I think...
I remember, like, a Grappling Industries I did one time. I got through my entire bracket and there was still the same thing going.
Yeah, submission only. And that's why I feel like there has to be...
Sub-only no time limit is...
sub-only no time limit gets to be a lot, you know? And, like, I think a lot of people's like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to bank on them, like, getting exhausted and then I'll catch them. Like, perhaps in Damien's situation, it would have been a different game if it were, you know, limited to 30 minutes. It's like, I only have these 30 minutes work. It's still going to be sub-only with a ref's decision at the end, but I only have these 30 minutes. So I don't have to worry about losing my gas tank, you know, thinking, oh, this could go 2 hours. It's like, nope, I know it's limited to this amount of time. So like, I'll put more effort into this, or I'll go for things more. Like I think that,
implement
like there's
different strategies to fill the time. It makes a lot of sense. The last time I saw Damian compete, actually, like it's funny because I'm filming Sogi this weekend. Last time I watched him, he won Sogi. Man, that guy he is a monster.
They all are.
Yeah, really.
They all are.
Yeah. He was a killing machine. It was crazy watching him like run through the whole thing because there was some killers in his bracket. I was
he's very good.
I was like. I was texting people like the picture of the thing like at my gym, and they're like, "Oh man, this is a stacked bracket."
Yeah,
it was really
he hasn't been training for that long either.
Yeah.
But it was one of those situations where he just like literally dove into the deep end head first and was like, "I'm fucking doing this."
Yeah.
And he devoted everything to it. Was training multiple times a day, like with the best guys in the world. So he got really good really fast, and like that's what you have to do.
Yeah,
you know, like. He's better than me for sure. I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been doing it for like 5.
Yeah.
You know, and I technically outrank him, but like he's been training with John and Gary this whole time.
Quality.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I was actually just talking to somebody recently about like, oh, how different would like my jiu-jitsu career be if I'd started under Gary, like, and been here since the beginning, you know, because it is a totally different level of things here. Like my technical abilities have just like astronomically increased ever since I started training here, training at Henzo's, like all of that. And I'm like, damn, like how good would I be if I had actually started here?
Yeah.
But I also think that like, you know, everything happens for a reason, not to be super cliche.
Yeah.
But like my old gym, like I mentioned, it was just one of those places where just like, we're just going to grind each other into the ground every night. And they didn't take it easy on me.
Yeah.
And I can't even tell you how many times I left that gym crying, or I'd go into the locker room after a match and be like, oh my God, like I just suck. And I would cry. But every single time I came back, that experience made me tough as shit.
Yeah, no
so
doubt.
I can walk into a gym where I don't know anybody and feel like comfortable and confident because of the hard stuff that I've been through. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I would be a lot more technical or know a lot more or feel more confident in my technique, but maybe I wouldn't be as tough as I am. And like, I'm really grateful that I am.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
what it is.
That's awesome. It's good to look at, like you got to look at your whole story, right? To see where you're at. Cause the story's not over yet. You know what I mean? Like,
no, we're just getting started.
Exactly. That's awesome. So let me ask you if you could do any match, what would it be? Like who would you fight?
I don't know. That's a hard question. Like, I mean, I would want to, I would love to compete at highest levels, which is why I'm making such an effort to go down to Puerto Rico and train with these guys. You know, it's, it's interesting because there aren't a lot of women that are my size, my skill level. Yeah. You know? So like somebody that's popping into my mind right now is Maggie Grindotti. I know that she's my size, my skill level. One of my really good friends had a match against her a couple of years ago. So I've been kind of like watching her and following her. And like, it's not like, you know, if I were to compete at ADCC, I'd be in a bracket with Gabby Garcia. I'm 155. She is like, I don't even know.
Probably at least
she's like 235. Yeah. I don't know. So it's hard to like, okay, like that's the biggest person in the bracket. That's who you'd have to beat. Like I've definitely thought about matches like that.
That's crazy. Why I don't know how the bracketing works for ADCC.
It's okay.
Like how does that? Do they not have weight classes?
They have 2 weight classes for women, and so it's totally like skewed towards men for ADCC. There's 2 weight classes, and there are only 8 women in each bracket. So like the men have 16, women only have 8, and I think the cutoff is 140. So. Sure, I could make it. I could cut down to 140. Like, it's not that far away. Yeah. But then it's like, all right, you're going in there and you're like a little bit weaker. Yeah. And okay, then I'm competing against people who are like 115 pounds. Like, it's I'm like in a weird spot, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, like those brackets aren't there needs to be another one, or there needs to be like a top.
Yeah,
there's no cap.
It's gotta change after 200. Like, I know like the ultra heavyweight, like a lot of brackets is like, it's what, 190 and up. Like that's just a whole its own little absolute of chaos.
Yeah, well, I think they should add another. Just give us another bracket, just one more. Yeah. So it's
I
like
think that's fair. Honestly,
it's like the really small girls, maybe, I don't know, like up to 130 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, or 125, and then have a middle bracket, and then have a larger bracket, because it's just
two brackets.
Like it's ridiculous.
Rough, yeah.
And then like, okay, yeah, so I'm 155 going against Gabby Garcia, who's 235. Well, imagine if I were to cut, I'm 155, there's somebody 115. Like that is also a huge gap, So something I feel like definitely has to change for that. And I think women's competitions are becoming a bigger deal. So hopefully the powers that be at ADCC will start listening a little bit more as more women start competing, and there's more of a need for it and more people who want to watch it. It was actually kind of like, it's kind of sad. Like when I was at ADCC last time they had it, like everybody is there watching all the dudes, like, yeah, awesome, like all these men, like testosterone, awesome. And then the women come on and everyone's like, oh, this is my time for a bathroom break. And like people don't want to watch it as much. So I'm hoping like, you start getting more traction for it, having more exciting matches.
Yeah. Well, you see Gabby Garcia out here like challenging dudes. Like she challenged Gordon, didn't she? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what's your opinion of like, mixing like brackets and doing like a complete absolute like kind of thing?
I mean, as much as I love training with men, and honestly most of the time prefer training with men, when it comes to actual competition, like, yeah, jiu-jitsu, you use technique and that's what it's all about, but men have an advantage biologically. Like I see it on the mats all the time. Guys who are my size, they're just way stronger than me, and I don't know why. Yeah. They are. Yeah. Like we're the same weight. How is this possible?
Yeah, the chemicals.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. I mean, you even see this like with guys who compete where it's in the absolute, like usually the absolute winner is a large man. Strength does play a part.
Yeah, it's like what's I think John's the one that says it's like it's a technique multiplier, right? Strength is the technique multiplier. So if you're both comparable in the technique department, whoever's stronger is going to come out on top. Yeah, definitely.
And like I think there's like this weird mental thing that goes into it too, especially for guys. Like, oh, I'm out here competing against a girl. It's a lose-lose situation for me. If I win, I lose. If I lose, I lose.
Yeah.
And like, you don't want that.
There's a girl at studio. She's like a young girl, Sophie. Dude, she just won against like a male bracket. She came out on top. I was like, dude, I'm so proud of you. I'm actually gonna have her on the podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I told her like, it's so impressive that she's able to. And the youth is important, right?
Yes.
Because there's less time in those children's bodies that testosterone's been able to play a part. So technique is the dominant factor there.
Sure. And that's a good point. Like, how many young girls are in jiu-jitsu? Not a lot. So when they go to competitions, there might not be any girls for them to compete against.
Yeah.
So then they're doing like girl guy bracket, a combination, and that's cool. Like that sort of stuff. I just think at the highest levels, like, it's not realistic.
Yeah. Time with the training and everything, the disparity starts getting crazy.
Yeah.
Even with like performance enhancing drugs, can't even fucking.
It's just acai and Jesus. What are you talking about?
Pretty much. But yeah, man, it's a wild endeavor there. What do you think about like a lot of the trans athletes that are going like male to female and then dominating those things though? Like no one seems to care that's a factor, and it obviously is. Like coming from your mouth, like you would shit on me all day, and I outweigh you by like 20 pounds easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fact that you still like identify that these are factors once the technique is a thing, like why are these like the commissioners, like the athletic commissions letting this happen,
I mean, I don't know why they're letting it happen. I have a lot of strong feelings about this, and they are not politically correct by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's lunacy. Like, I won't even get to my thoughts and feelings about transgenders and whatever, but like, you're biologically a male and you're coming to compete with females because you've decided that you feel like a female. Like, no, biologically, you're stronger. You have advantages. That it's not fair. And it's in any sport, forget jiu-jitsu, anything. It's like blowing these girls' chances of like scholarships or like, you know, girls have records and things like that. And there's this trans athlete that comes in and they beat it by like a ridiculous amount. And you're like, well, that's a dude. You know, I don't think it's fair at all. Like, I think, keep those biological. I was
actually having this conversation with someone else where we were kind of discussing like either you should just mix everyone and there should just be no male and female like thing, or you should just have a whole other like transgender bracket where, you know, it doesn't matter. It's anything kind of goes here. You know?
I mean, the fear there is that, oh, well, now we're being singled out. We can't like we want
singling out like
exactly
biological male and female.
It's ridiculous.
You know?
It is ridiculous. It gets me very upset.
I mean, it's upsetting. Like when these articles come up on like my social media feeds, I'm like, what? How is this even allowed? Like, who's allowing this to happen?
It's crazy. You know? It's crazy.
It's really, like, what it comes down to, like, the stuff that's, like, the most appalling to me is, like, in combat sports when, like, the dude's giving these girls, like, or the person that used to be a male and is now a female is giving, like, girls that are in the sport brain damage, like, from fucking hitting them.
Because they're way stronger? Yeah.
It's, you know, it's like I'm in your weight class, but I have crazy like higher bone density. It's not fair.
Yeah, there are so many like actual scientific reasons why males and females are different. Yeah, and like when you start to mix it into sports, it's an advantage. Yeah, 1,000%. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's. I'm happy to hear you say like you're encouraging everyone to kind of train together though, because that's
for sure.
You know, it doesn't matter. Like I can learn like millions of things from you. In fact, I anytime I have a higher belt in the room, I'm like, yo, please, like, can you pick apart my game a little bit? Like, I'm not any like crazy stretch of like a jiu-jitsu athlete at all. Like I compete. I've lost way more than I've won. You know what I mean? I have a couple gold medals. You know what I mean? They're chilling. But you know, I go into brackets and you know I'll win some, I'll lose some. You know, and I'm here to learn about the art. You know what I mean? I don't care who the instructor is. Yeah. Like anyone that would think less of you for being a female. I think honestly, like what you were saying to your point earlier, you know stuff that's technically stuff that a guy wouldn't even think of because I can just abuse strength to get through it. You know?
Yeah, you bring up a really great point. And that's something that I love about this affiliation, like the Tom DeBlas affiliation, Renzo Gracie affiliation, is that like it doesn't matter that I'm a female. Yeah, I teach the women's class here, sure. But I can also teach co-ed classes. Yeah. Like Garry looks at me as somebody who is competent in jiu-jitsu, somebody that he trusts to impart knowledge upon his students. He doesn't care that I'm a female. He trusts me. And like I mentioned it to him one night, like just thanking him for like allowing me to do that. And he's like, yeah, I trust you. Like I trust your jiu-jitsu knowledge. And like that was a really big deal to me. You know, at my old gym, like I could never imagine even leading a women's program, let alone like teaching like legit classes to men. Like I've now been like a guest instructor at other gyms in the area. And one of the guys, Professor Miguel over at Montgomery BJJ, he's had me come over and teach a couple of times. And he one time like gave a speech to his students about how anytime he has the opportunity to learn from a higher belt female, like he takes it because of exactly what you just said. There's all these like little nuggets of magic in there that don't necessarily get imparted to you by men because they don't have to do it. And women have to be so technical. Definitely. And he like him just saying that, it was like, holy shit, like I'm respected. It's such an amazing feeling because it's so hard to be respected as a female in this sport and like be a valuable training partner, valuable teacher and all of that, because people look at you and they're like, well, you're a female. You know, you're constantly, you're constantly proving yourself. Even going on the mats with people you don't know, they're like, oh, she's just a girl, cool. I don't really want to roll with her. And it takes me grabbing the back of their neck and snapping them down and being like, no, I'm going to beat the shit out of you if you don't show up today. Yeah. You know, for them to be like, oh, I'll give her my respect now. It takes a lot. So like having instructors and coaches and, you know, people that I respect, my coaches, just like giving me that respect back as it's a huge deal. And like, they'll never understand just how much that means to like hear them say that, or to want me to teach
at the highest level, right? Like you're the team you're in, and you're hearing Garry Tonon say that. God, I don't know what I would do if I heard like someone like Garry Tonon tell me like, yes, you are qualified to teach like someone under my name. I'd be like, I have some fucking like coming to Jesus moment. I swear.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, like Katie 6 years ago would never imagine like being here right now.
You go back in time, you're like, you're lying. There's no way.
I just said this to my mom, I think like yesterday. I was like, Mom, like if I could go back and just like tell her like, your current reality is, or your future reality is going to be completely outside of your wildest imagination. Like I never would have fathomed that like here I am, like I'm on the team with the Danaher Death Squad. Like holy shit, what is my life? Like having been in this sport for so long and starting somewhere so small, somewhere nobody knows like where it is, or you know, you say the name, it's like nobody knows it. You know, some people don't even know the gym that we were affiliated with. You know, we were affiliated with Balance Studios. I say that to some of the people up there. They're like, well, I don't know what that is. You know, and here I am training with the guys everybody knows, like literally the best team in the world. And it's just like it's surreal, and it's like living in a movie. This is amazing. And I'm so grateful for it. Like it's incredible, you know, and like my job allows me to pursue it as well. You know, my boss is the coolest woman ever. And she's like, go train, go do your thing, be happy. You know, when you're happy outside of work, you're going to be happy at work, and you're going to perform better. So go do jiu-jitsu, beat up all the boys. I love it. Yes.
That's awesome.
It's
so I'm so happy to hear like you're finding a way to make it all work. Like me, when I was working like in my corporate job, like I left it for a lot of similar reasons. Like no one here understands what this is. You know what I mean? You don't understand why I need this out of, you know, like just because all you do all day is like, you know, sit behind a cubicle and eat Doritos. Like you don't understand. Like I need a banana. Why are there no bananas in the break room to buy? Like it's all just chips and Oreos. Like this is terrible for me. To see like something that can encourage you to kind of like go after everything, like that's so beautiful. It's some reason I'm kind of like trying to separate myself and do my own thing lately. And,
well, you know, a lot of it is like I mentioned this earlier, saying no to things that don't feel good and saying yes to things that do. I have now been out of grad school since 2017, and I've had 3 different jobs in that time. And after about a year, I was like, you know what? I've been here long enough, and this doesn't fit. It doesn't work. There's something wrong, and I'm going to leave. And a lot of people don't do that for themselves. Like, well, you know, I have a good job, making good money. Like, I'm at the most prestigious engineering and architecture firm in the world. Why would I leave this? Like, look at all the potential. But I was like, no, I want to be happy. I want to find something that like supports my passions too. And just by saying, okay, I'm going to leave this thing that I recognize is not for me. I'm going to have the courage to get outside of my comfort zone and go somewhere else, try it out, and start to just like see, okay, what works, what doesn't work, what do I like, what do I not like. You start to get like closer to what your ultimate goals are, you know, and what 100%. Your true happiness and fulfillment is. And I actually switched careers entirely last year, right about this time. So as COVID was starting to destroy the world, I switched careers. I don't work as an engineer anymore. I'm in sales. I sell engineering software. So a little similar, but like you said, ballsy. You know, like, okay, here I am switching entirely, going into something that's totally new. Am I going to succeed? Am I going to fail? I have no idea, but here we go. Oh, the world's closing. Cool. Why not?
It's so powerful to hear someone like as influential as you talk about this stuff too, because I hate that term, like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. It's like, no, like, I know I wasn't put on this planet to work behind a cubicle. Like I need to fucking finish my school bus and go like spread the word of the bar around. You know what I mean? I need to create things that are beautiful, that are going to make the world a better place. I can't do this from this cubicle. And you identify like I'm bigger than this firm. Like I'm not gonna be the one owning this thing in Manhattan. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's the most prestigious thing. I don't fit. I'm not. This puzzle piece doesn't go here.
And it was, you know, an engineer. I'm smart enough to be an engineer. You know, I can do the work. But I was sitting there not talking to anybody all day long.
Yeah,
I'm a people person.
relate
I don't know
to
if you've
anybody.
noticed.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And I'm just like, wow, what am I doing? I'm not fulfilled. I'm unhappy. I'm bored out of my mind, literally bored to tears.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Oh, well, it's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be an engineer. I'm supposed to impress people. For what? It's not making me happy.
Yeah.
I'm not fulfilled. Let me go find what does fulfill me. And in that quest for fulfillment, I'm starting to identify what do I like. And all of these amazing opportunities have started to come to me because I can recognize, nope, this isn't for me. And I'm going to say no, even if other people would say yes, because it's the safe move.
Yeah. Yeah, the safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I'm Katie. I'm
Be
I'm
courageous.
Yeah, we're pushing the envelope here.
Yeah,
It's
too
so
many
cool.
people say no to things because they're afraid.
Yes.
And they're
it took me. I was done at my job, well before a year before I quit.
I hear this so often.
I'm done here. Like, I know I'm done. Let me look for like a lateral move to another company. And I ended up leaving like the IT world to go be a manager at a gym like that's parkour, and I started a beginner's jiu-jitsu program there, and I was like kind of a thing that made me realize like, oh, I enjoy teaching and like some other things that are like this. And now I'm like trying to start like this production stuff with live streaming, because like people want to live stream stuff because you can't go to places because of COVID. And it was just crazy when you leave the comfort zone, just like you said, all these opportunities come up, man.
Yeah.
Take a step out of that box.
Yeah. Well, that's where you grow. And that's where it's like, oh, cool. Like, I've just opened myself up to all of these other things because I tackled that hard thing. And now I can do other hard things because I've already done that one. I know what I'm capable of. You know, I know I can get through all these things. Like, people, they just like settle for good enough.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, no, I want to be great. I want to be really happy and really fulfilled. I want to live like the life of my dreams. But like, you have to make decisions that support that. Like, everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be fulfilled. When I was thinking about switching careers, so many people said to me, oh, well, it's a job for a reason. I'm like, no, that's not the attitude. Like, a job can make you happy. You can love your job. That's a thing.
Not?
You can make money doing things that you enjoy. Why do I have to be in your box? I'm going to go make my own goddamn box. Thank you very much.
100%.
You know, like, they always tell you, think outside the box, be outside the box. Go do it. You know,
build the box.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great way to kind of conclude some things. We're like 3 minutes away from 6:30. You got your class coming up. It looks we have a lot of comments and stuff here.
Oh, this is fun.
I'm gonna we got a lot going on here. All right, we got, what's the BJJ scene like in PR? We already addressed that. Just saying what's up. All right, a lot of people saying what's up. No questions. All right,
well, besides to go a little bit more into like the BJJ scene in PR, like outside of
the DDS,
stuff, like there isn't that much.
Interesting.
Yeah, like there's definitely like gyms and stuff. You know, I'm like talking to the guys because they're like, we got to make money here. We need to like do private seminars. I'm like, okay, can you reach out to these other gyms? Like, we're used to being in this like New York area. There are gyms everywhere. I imagine, it's different in Puerto Rico, and I think the gyms are like a lot smaller. So it's like, okay, like where could we go? I know there are some around. I've only ever been to where the DDS are training, obviously.
It makes sense. I know a lot of people, like my cousins and stuff. Like the athletic community in PR is legit. Like, everyone wants to be at the beach and fucking beach body. Like, it's definitely a thing there. But I know, like, there's a lot of, like, it's interesting. The athletic community I'm most in touch with is the parkour community down there. I know all the parkour guys down there because, like, whatever reasons. Like, I'm not going to go into it 'cause we're about to end. But, yeah, it's interesting. Like, they're around. People are around looking to do martial arts and stunt stuff there, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe now, like, that more people are working remotely, like it'll become a bigger thing because like, oh yeah, let's go live on an island. Sounds amazing.
That's like a huge thing, right? Like, there's like this crazy exodus out of New York. And
God.
It's spiking a lot of housing like stuff all over the place.
Oh yes. Yeah. Oh yes. It's like,
that's a huge thing.
Everything is like changing up there.
Yeah. That's why I'm going to fucking live in a bus for a while and go on a podcast tour or something. But yeah, like we're coming to a close. Do you have any knowledge you want to impart on anyone else? Like, kind of like any females that are like just fresh in the scene? How can you encourage them to stay in jiu-jitsu? This is the right decision.
One thing that I took away from my most recent trip to Puerto Rico, and I've been telling both the females here and also, you know, the men too after class, is that jiu-jitsu is really hard. Like, and you're gonna have bad days, and you're gonna walk away from there feeling like you're not good at jiu-jitsu. You can't do this. I mean, I've seen this in like multiple regards throughout the 10 years that I've been training, and also in life. Like, things are really freaking hard sometimes. The only way you get through them is by continually showing up, staying present. What can you do right now in this moment that you have control over to improve or get through it? And just like keep showing up. It's not, there is no secret. There is no magic sauce. There is nothing that I can say, no magic little formula I can send to you that's gonna be like, yep, my jiu-jitsu is awesome now. I'm gonna feel amazing about everything and submit everyone. It's not gonna happen. It's only gonna happen if you keep showing up consistently, you put in the work, and one day, like, things are gonna click. It's gonna be like, yes, amazing, and you'll be on this high, and then maybe you'll dip down again, and then you'll be up again, and it's a roller coaster, and you see that in life, and the only way you get through something is by continuing and just staying consistent. Show up for yourself, show up for your training partners, and you will get better. You are going to plateau.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You absolutely are going to plateau. But when you get past that, you're going to shoot up and you're going to feel really awesome. And it's, you know, when you're able to, you know, look back on it, you're like, that was really hard, but I did it and I'm so proud of myself. Like, it's going to feel amazing once you get through that and you like see where you are now, similarly to how I was doing earlier, just like looking back, like, wow, look at where I am now. Yeah. This is incredible. Like, that's the same with everything, I big and small.
To that too. Like I said, like from getting sick like a month ago, like a couple weeks ago, like my first time back, like I lost so much, and that was like my bottom point. I felt like ass after that first thing. I'm like, fuck, man, I don't know anything anymore. But then, you know, you keep showing up and you're like, oh yeah, I know these things.
It starts to come back. You just, it develops resiliency, both on the mats and off the mats. And that's so important if you ever want to like achieve anything great. You have to be able to get through the hard things.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.
Oh, dude, we'll do it again.
We should.
Maybe like all this fits in one backpack. So
perfect.
Maybe we'll do that down in PR on the beach or something.
I'm not opposed.
Yeah, guys, make sure you check out. We're gonna do a demonstration. Katie's gonna show me some badass moves and stuff after she does her women's class. I'm gonna clean this stuff up in this weird room now.
And don't worry, I will be beating Brad up later. It's going to be great.
Maybe we'll get some footage of that. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.